Aquarius, as both of your ruling planets, your traditional ruler Saturn and your modern ruler Uranus, enter into new signs this year, signaling new cycles and new eras beginning, you can be confident that in the year 2025, you are stepping into your brand new chapter as well. Hi, my name's Haley Comet and welcome to my Cosmic Corner of the Internet, where we discuss all things astrology, and today, all things 12 Days of Cosmos Aquarius 2025 edition. What the water bearers have in store within the year 2025, and how it is that you can co-create with these celestial cycles and rhythms. Aquarius, I want to let you know firstly, just in case this is your first time that you've stopped by my Cosmic Corner of the Internet, I want to share with you that I will always be forthright with you around the transits that I see coming alive within your horoscope. I am genuinely a believer to be forewarned is to be forearmed. That being said, something that you will find within every piece of content on my channel is that beyond just communicating with you about astrology, I share how it is that you can work with the astrology, how it is that you can step into the year 2025 and years to come, remembering that you are an empowered co-creator and use this astrology in order to build your world, in order to co-create your most aligned magical life. And I wanted to start there because, Aquarius, you are in the midst of a Pluto transit, and Pluto is the planet of power. And so this is a year, and the years to come, because this transit goes until 2044, this is a time of your life that you are being guided to recognize and realize how powerful you are as a human being. Some elements of this transit, which we will go fully in depth on, is a little bit intense. It can inspire a little bit of fear, certainly, but please do not give your power away or leak your power out by feeling like a victim, by feeling powerless to the cruel and mean planets above you. Just know that Pluto energy and both of your ruling planets changing signs this year is really asking you to make a choice. And what I mean by that is that if you arrive to a crossroads this year between choosing who you've been versus choosing who you could be, choose who you're evolving to become. Choose what your life is evolving to be. That is the ask. And that's not always easy to do. Sometimes we do need to face our fears. Sometimes we do need to shed what does not serve in order to answer that call of our higher self, of our future self that is nudging us to move through this growth period. So Aquarius, believe me when I say, there is so much to discuss as you step into this massive metamorphosis, so to speak. But before we do, I just want to share that this video is part of my 12 Days of Cosmos series. And as with all of the other videos within the series, I tell the story of your year pulling from houses. And because that's the technique I utilize, the forecast that I would recommend you listening to the most definitely listen to your ascendant sign, and to a lesser degree, listen to your sun sign. The reason for this is that your rising sign will always be the most accurate because that pulls from your actual houses utilizing whole sign house system. I also recommend utilizing sun sign, as I use a technique called solar houses, which is when we pull the sun into the first house and set up the houses accordingly. So the rising sign forecast will be the most accurate snapshot of the year that you are stepping into, the metamorphosis that you are undergoing, but you may find your sun sign forecast also resonates in terms of some themes that are coming alive as well. You're welcome to listen to your other placements. Sometimes it's relevant from an aspect perspective, but most certainly rising and most certainly sun. So this video will be the most relevant for my Aquarius risings and my Aquarius suns. So make sure to check out the playlist in order to get the most comprehensive look at the cosmos within the year ahead. And I just want to share, if my style of co-creative astrology really speaks to you, really resonates with you, I would invite you to subscribe if you feel so called, or any other bit of engagement is so deeply helpful. I have all sorts of content on my channel. I do all signs forecasts for the major transits that we experience. I also have a weekly horoscope where I take you through every single week of astrology and how it is that you can move through it as the empowered cosmic co-creator that you are. So make sure to check that out. But without further ado, Aquarius, let's take it into your 2025 horoscope: evolution, transformation, and innovation. Aquarius, 2025's astrology is a bit wild. It's a bit wacky, to say the least. And I will say, as a sign, Aquarius typically has an appreciation for the bizarre, for the weird, for the eccentric. So maybe you're more game for the wackiness, more so than other signs in the zodiac would be. But there is a lot of shifts occurring within the year ahead, all of which we will discuss in depth. But I like to firstly set up your year by calling out a transit that will be more influential and impactful for your year. And for this, the most influential energy that may be coding your year is Pluto in Aquarius. I want to start firstly with the significance of this transit. This is a once-in-a-lifetime transit. Not everybody will have a Pluto conjunction to their personal planets within this lifetime. That is a rare once-in-a-lifetime occurrence. And so you are in the midst of a deeply powerful, deeply transformative cycle that is playing out currently and reverberating out until 2044. This transit began back in 2023. That was when Pluto initially stepped its foot, stuck a little toe into the Aquarius sector of the sky. And in the years 2023 and 2024 was dabbling in between the early degrees of Aquarius and the later degrees of Capricorn. So you could have felt that back and forth energy as well. Elements of your new life sharpening into focus and elements of your old life that you were still clinging on to. And just sort of this tug of war between the two. The transformation that you know is ahead and the collapsing of what it is that you know no longer serves you. And what makes Pluto in Aquarius a defining transit in the year 2025, even though we know it's not unique to 2025, it started in 2023, it continues until 2044, is that 2025 is the first year that from the beginning of the year, January 1st, to the end of the year, December 31st, Pluto will be in Aquarius for the entire year. There's no more dabbling. You are now fully committing to your new life and your new way of being. And it's not that I am implying that from now until 2044, it's going to be constant rebirth and destruction and letting go. This energy accentuates when you have a Pluto conjunction. And so in the year 2025, these Pluto themes that we'll dive deeply into will be the most alive and the most apparent if you have Aquarius placements between 1 to 3 degrees. That means you have a Pluto conjunction this year. All of you will feel these Pluto transits, but if it's not conjoining your Aquarius placements, it may be more of a dull hum in the background. If you have Aquarius placements between 1 and 3, there's no dull hum. It is a loud noise. It is alive in your experience. So let's get into what you can experience navigating this fully Plutonian year. So Pluto is the planet of transformation. Pluto is the planet of letting go. Pluto is the planet of destruction and reinvention. And what it is particularly honed in on is your sector of your chart that governs self. So it's less so around the what your life is evolving to be and what it is that you are releasing. It's really the who. Pluto is the planet of transformation. So you are in this massive metamorphosis cycle. And to have a metamorphosis, there is a nature of letting go. The butterfly has to grieve being a caterpillar in order to find its wings. If you step into your dream relationship, you have to mourn and grieve your life as a single solo person. To step into being a homeowner, you have to grieve renting an apartment. To step into being an entrepreneur, you have to grieve the comfort of having a more traditional career path. Anything that you desire will require you to release and to let go of something. And sometimes we have this distinct knowledge around what we are releasing in order to clear space for what we're stepping into. Sometimes you're kind of in that purgatory. You're in that in-between. It's kind of like that trust fall or that energy of the trapeze individual at the circus where they've released one bar, now they're just soaring through the air, trusting that they will reach on to the next bar. Like that's what Pluto transits can make us feel. And certainly being in the air mid-flight can be exhilarating, but of course there's going to be fears. What if this bar doesn't arrive? What if I let go of this thing and something better does not arrive to replace it? What if, what if, what if? And I want to spotlight that because Pluto as a planet deals with themes such as fear, paranoia, obsession, rumination. And Pluto transits will make it clear to you whether fear has been an operant force within your life. If you are staying in seasons of your life and in elements of your life that are unfulfilling and unsatisfying, but you'd rather cling to a familiar hell rather than dare risk it in order to go find your own heaven. Pluto transits will sharpen into focus where fear is dominating your life. And sometimes Pluto transits make you face a fear. Like there could be an energy where you've been complacent in a job that you hate, wanting to be self-employed, but fearing what that would look like. And sometimes Pluto transits can rip away, our safety net or our comfort zone of, that job or that relationship or whatever it is that to a deeper level, on some level, it doesn't serve you, but at least it's something. At least it's a comfort zone. At least I'm protected. And Pluto transits can either force us to confront that fear is keeping us in place, is keeping us stagnant, or it can make the process easier on us by ripping it away, which is not comfortable. I want to highlight that. Growth is rarely comfortable. The reason the butterfly is able to fly is because of the strength that it builds clawing out of the cocoon. The tension and the friction of their delicate wings against the cocoon is why they are able to flap their wings, is why they are able to soar. And so sometimes it's not just about the process of letting go of what does not serve, but also the who that we become as we rise up to the challenges of a Pluto transit, as we dig ourselves out of a dark night of the soul, as we sometimes even fight for our own survival. Like I said earlier, Pluto is the planet of power. Something that you will realize during this time is how powerful you are and how strong you are. And we don't know how strong we are until we come against forces that are challenging. Whether it's the butterfly getting out of the cocoon, whether it's you lifting weights at the gym, we recognize our strength when we do go through challenges. We recognize our power when we go through challenges. And a lot of times we are awakened around how much of our life has been lived in things such as comfort, things such as fear, keeping us complacent, keeping us stuck. Pluto tends to sharpen into focus the shadow sides of life, some more intense themes, one of which is around letting go and is around loss. And it's not that I'm literally saying that any of you will be literally losing something or letting go of something this year, but with Pluto in the sector of your chart governing self and identity, I do feel that a lot of you are letting go of a prior self, of who you used to be, in order to free fall and to grab hold of who it is that you're evolving to be. And Pluto, as the planet of death, can sometimes make us confront that our time here is limited. Our time here is finite. We tend to think that we have time, and Pluto energy awakens us into the reality, a harsher experience of the world around recognizing I don't have the time that I think that I have. And life is too short to live it from my comfort zone. Life is too short to be complacent. I don't want to be at the end of my life grieving what my life could have been and grieving who I could have been. You got to decide what's scarier to you. If you take a risk and it all goes wrong, or if you never take a risk and it could have all gone right had you dared take a chance on yourself. You have to choose which of those is more scary to you and choose the opposite. We choose our hard in life. It could be hard to leave, but it's also hard to stay. Especially if you know deep down this is not aligned, especially when you feel that you have all of this talent and all of this potential within you that you have not tapped into, especially when you have all of these desires that you would like to experience within your time here on planet Earth. Those could have been beneath the surface, and Pluto transits tend to bring that up to the horizon, and it's not comfortable to face those truths in the face, whether it's our fears or even whether it's our desires. And a lot of times there's scripts, fears, even desires that are running in the background that unknowingly impact our life and our experience of it. And Pluto transits bring illumination to that. So if there have been certain psychological stories, if there have been certain traumas, if there are certain fears that you've been wanting to avoid and even distracting yourself from, Pluto energy tends to bring you down to those core components of this experience. And the only way out is through, truly. Because we can build so much of our life to try to distract ourselves and escape from our desires that linger underneath, or our fears that we don't want to tap into, or our psychological stories that we've built in order to keep our ego safe, keep ourselves safe. We can fill it with all this stuff, and Pluto energy tends to rip away anything that is superficial until we finally face ourselves. You cannot outrun your demons, especially when you're in a Pluto transit. You know, Aquarius as a sign is very technological, and the Pluto and Aquarius transit, I have a whole deep dive video on it. I talk a lot about the technological significations of this transit because there's many, but I want to illuminate this via an analogy around coding. It's almost like if the source code, like what a program is built on, if there's a bug in that code, and we write all of this code to try to avoid that bug, but we keep having glitches, we keep having glitches, we keep having glitches. Pluto transit is the time that you finally get to that source code. And we can write all this code, all of this stuff, all of this excess, trying to get away from that embedded bug that's creating glitches. Because even if we run from things, even if we strive to run from our trauma, even if we seek to distract ourselves, even if we try to convince ourselves, no, this is fine, it's not fulfilling, it's not satisfying, but it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, there will be glitches. There will be little moments that you recognize, okay, there's something deeper here. There's a reason I feel unfulfilled. There's a reason my life doesn't feel like me. There's a reason I cope in the ways that I do. There's a reason I run to the things that I do. There's a reason that I distract myself in the ways that I do. And it can be tempting to write more code. Add, let's fix it, let's circumvent it. But at some point you have to come back to the source code and address the bug so that you don't have these glitches. And Pluto is the planet of destruction. It's the planet of release for a reason. It can be a time that you are guided to uninstall the surplus code in order to get to the core, get to the source code. Because if we have too much code running, it slows the program down. And so Pluto in Aquarius for you is a time around uninstalling the programs that are not aligning for you. And Pluto in Aquarius for you is that nudge to uninstall the code that is not aligned for you, is not right for you. You know, you are in Aquarius. You are here to be your own person. You are here to do your own thing. And some of you may find during this time that you've been programmed around seeing the world in a certain way, whether it's been programmed by external opinions, whether it's been programmed by your own challenges, by your own trauma. There's been code that's ingrained into you, dominant messages, fears, desires, whatever it is, that's not true to you. And it's you trying to run from yourself. It's you trying to deal with the symptoms of a problem that exists beneath the surface. And it's you, even in some instances, seeking to be what other people want or expect you to be. Like you came here as an Aquarius placement. Like you are not here to fit into the mold. You are not here to comply with normalcy. Aquarius is the archetype of the rebel, the humanitarian for a reason. Because it takes people who are willing to see things differently, willing to question the code or how it is that you've been programmed and uninstall what is not true for you in order to awaken other individuals. You know, Pluto and Aquarius, this is truly humanity moving towards the future. And you came here at this time as an Aquarius placement. You know, some people believe that our astrology is completely random. I am of the belief that we chose our chart. You chose to be an Aquarius placement during a time that Pluto is in Aquarius. Like I said earlier, not everybody experiences a Pluto conjunction during their lifetime, and you are experiencing one. And oftentimes that process of, you know, uninstalling code, facing our fears, getting away from anything that's superficial in order to ask ourselves these deeper underlying questions, that is not a seamless or easy process. Growth rarely is. And this is concentrated around you. And so with the energy of Pluto in your first house, some of you are being called upon to be a way shower during this time, to move through your own dark night of the soul in order to inspire the collective that they can do the same, or to be able to step into your own beliefs, even if they are different than the conventional way of viewing the world, in order to be the change that you want to see. Some of you are being asked to embrace being a bit polarizing. You know, Pluto is the planet of extremes. And so you can find with Pluto in the first house that people are having a very extreme reaction to you. Pluto can govern, you know, love-hate dynamics. You could find that during this Pluto transit, people are having a very intense response to you, whether being very, very obsessed with you or hating you for no reason. And what's important to bear in mind, Aquarius, is that it's so rarely about you. People are viewing you from their own operating systems, right? From their own code. And a lot of times, especially when you've done the work in order to be true to yourself, you've addressed your underlying bugs and all of that, you can cause other people's operating systems to glitch because it does not fit in with their worldview. You know, a lot of times the way that we view the world is a method of self-preservation. Like a lot of times we keep ourselves comforted in lies or even in things that are comforting for the ego, even if it's not the most empowering way to live. And so you can be somebody who's a bit of an awakener of sorts around bringing certain elements of people's psyche that they would rather ignore. A lot of us would rather ignore it. And during a Pluto transit, you oftentimes don't have the option to ignore it. You're having to do the work. And yes, you will be able to guide and empower and lead other people through that process if they're ready for it. Not everybody is ready for it. And in fact, you challenging the reality or even just standing with your own truth, which by nature calls people to question their reality, will make you the enemy because the ego doesn't like to feel challenged. Even if you're not outright challenging someone's reality, even just you seeing the world in a different way and showing up in a different way and rejecting certain normal ideals, that is a challenge to the ego, and people will make you the enemy. They will make you wrong. And that's on that side of the extreme. But I also want to let you know, some people will see you living within your power and living within your actualization, because I want to let you know, Aquarius, that is what's awaiting you on the other side of this Pluto transit, okay? Is you getting to your most transformed, actualized version by genuinely doing the work. Some people will see that within you and attach to you. It's really meant to be a mirror of what they could be capable of should they do the work, but they can see you as the source of empowerment in some way and get very obsessed and even like addicted to your energy. And while that's more flattering than the other side of the spectrum, that's not so good either. People can get very clingy on your energy, and you're an Aquarius, so you could be like, this is kind of a lot. You know, ultimately Pluto is the planet of power, and sometimes people think that power is something that exists outside of them. And so people could think that you are the source of their power or something of that nature. And I would encourage you to be the way shower by reminding people that the power is within them, that you are just a mirror, you know, for what could be possible should you dare work through your fears, should you dare believe in new ideas, should you dare believe in innovation. It has nothing to do with you. And I want you to remember that. Whether you're experiencing some like haters or whether you're experiencing people who are obsessed with you, it's not about you. It's not about you. People only see you from their own operating systems, from their own code. And ultimately, you are here to guide humanity into the next era and remind people of their own power, because you are genuinely doing that work. As an Aquarius, Aquarius is a sign of the future. You're already kind of ahead of humanity. Like, you can find that artists that you like are unknown and then they get really popular just a couple of years later. Just like interests that you authentically or organically have become much more popular in years later. Or even certain ways of seeing the world, you're considered weird at the time, and then with time, the collective catches up. Like, that's already something that is woven into your being an Aquarius. And that might be highlighted with Pluto in Aquarius particularly. You know, you might be called upon to teach or guide the people who are where you were a couple years ago, you know, because you've crawled out of your own cocoon, being able to guide other people on how to do so. Or because you've done this work, being able to share with other people how they could do so. Even if you do not outright work in a field that's very spiritual or transformative, or you're like, Haley, comment, I don't know how I'm meant to help the collective. You can think globally with the change that you want to see and the empowerment that you want for people to step into, and act locally. It could just be by you embracing your eccentricity, by your participation within your community, participation within your family, modeling new ways of being, modeling new ways of operating, questioning normalcy. Again, oftentimes, just out of self-protection and self-preservation, we just go along like sheep with what is considered to be the path or what is considered to be normal. It takes people like you who are willing to question, hang on, this doesn't seem right. This doesn't seem aligned. This doesn't seem actualized. We're leaking our power out here when our power is in here. And Aquarius is a sign that has to deal with groups of people and communities. So some of you could even feel called to lead during this time, to advocate for certain beliefs that you have, to lead certain groups and communities, to truly be the change that you want to see within the world. But like I said, not everybody will necessarily have the most favorable reaction to you during this time. And even on a more personal level, because Pluto tends to be a time that we're growing a lot, to grow does imply outgrowing. And sometimes when we really start to question ourselves, when we really start to do inner work, when we really start to transform, people, especially those close to us, can resist that because they're like, hang on, you're not behaving how you typically do. You're not the person I got into a relationship with, or you're not the friend that I used to have. And so sometimes Pluto transits can be this uncomfortable time in which you are recognizing how much of your life feels like a mold that you no longer fit into, that there are certain people that don't want to see you as you are, but want you to fit into a life that you've outgrown. Now, the connections that are meant to be in your life and anything that's meant to be in your life will evolve with you, but sometimes Pluto in your sign can be this uncomfy acknowledgement around, oh, as I uninstalled that code that was surplus and I addressed, the source bug of, my trauma or these underlying fears that I had or these desires that I did not want to acknowledge, that I built so much of my life trying to distract myself from it. Now that I've really done this work and I've really stepped into my most powerful, actualized, aligned, empowered timeline, I realize that not all of my relationships, not all of my jobs, or not all of my friends are programs that were built to operate on my new operating system, on this new journey that I'm in around uninstalling the surplus code and dialing in my source code to be my most true, authentic self. Not everything that worked for you within the past era of your life will work for you within this era of your life. And Pluto transits are a reminder that we can either let go or be dragged. Choose who you are evolving to be rather than who you've been, even if that involves letting go of something. Pluto transits, sometimes they can come through around just kind of a nudge around recognizing, oh, this is a mismatch. This doesn't run on my operating system any longer. Like, this is my last operating system. This program ran with my last code. Like, it's just a mismatch, right? It's an energetic mismatch. So I'm going to choose to separate myself from the software. Sometimes we make that decision. I'll be forthright with you, Aquarius, and I don't share this to scare you, but sometimes that decision's made for us. Like, sometimes Pluto transit can rip away places and people that were no longer in alignment with our growth. And just knowing that Pluto transits do take away anything that's superficial, anything that's getting in the way of our growth, anything that's outdated, anything that is no longer in alignment with our current operating system and our current code. And it's hell to walk through sometimes. You might have acknowledgement around, okay, this is something that I've outgrown. This is not aligned for my journey any longer. Sometimes you're in that space where you're like, what the heck? Why can't I grow and also have this thing? But you have to know and believe that what gets taken from you at this time is clearing space in your life for a reason. And it's important to trust in that, even if you're in that free fall, right? Letting go of one trapeze bar and reaching for the next one, even if you can't see it. You have to know and believe that it's opening up space for a reason. And sometimes that space opens up because it is truly something better, something that's more in alignment. Sometimes just being in that space of free fall between eras of our life, sometimes that prompts genuine self-discovery that we wouldn't have done otherwise. Pluto transits can sometimes be timed with dark nights of the soul, or time in which we're really forced to confront our deep-seated fears, our traumas, our triggers, our desires. And sometimes we are ripped from anything that we built to avoid those elements of our life. There can be a call to really look inward. And first house also deals with our physical vessel and our body. And when we contemplate our bodies, we also recognize that our bodies are not built to withstand an eternity, right? Like, we will no longer be here one day. Every day we're getting older. Every day we're getting a day closer to death. Hate to be morbid, but Pluto is the planet of that. Like I said, it governs extremes. If you can understand death and that you will no longer be here one day, you can fully seize life. Because if you've been afraid to live, if you've been afraid to take a risk, if you've been afraid to dig deep into the talent, the potential that is within you, Pluto transits will make you acknowledge that. To realize that death doesn't need to be the scary thing. It could just be something we look at and acknowledge, hey, if that is on the horizon, I need to fully live now. I need to have the experiences that I want to have. I need to let go of what forces me to be a not authentic version of self. Life is too short for me to not be the authentic person I was designed to be and live the life that I truly desire. Life is too short. And a lot of times when we distract ourselves, we have all this excess code. It's just to avoid these uncomfortable truths that Pluto makes us confront. Give yourself permission to start fully living. Fully living. Taking a risk, taking a chance, letting go of anything that is superficial or not true to self. Life is too short to care what other people think. Life is too short to run on operating systems of what was programmed into you by your family, by society. Life is too short to not get out of this experience what it is that you desire to have. And some of you can deal with some more intense themes around your body. Maybe there's something that really sharpens into focus the necessity of health. Maybe there's something that really sharpens into focus you wanting to take care of yourself. Maybe a lot of you are finding empowerment through bodybuilding, through working out, through caring for your physical vessel. And with Pluto's influence here, some of you may be going through a transformation as it relates to your body and your own body image. Pluto deals with our psychological patterns beneath the surface. And whether we are conscious of it or not, our own trauma, our own psyche can manifest in very physical ways. And so for some of you, you could be wanting to do the work in order to signal to your body that you are safe. You could be gaining awareness around how things from your past have led to your body reacting in certain ways. And some of you could even find that you are leaning upon certain somatic practices or certain tools in order to really move the hurt or the pain out of your body. You know, it's said that the body keeps the score, and Pluto energy may make you aware of that. You might feel like you've healed and moved on, and maybe you absolutely have. But if you have not signaled to your body that you are safe, that you don't have to be in fight or flight all of the time, if you have not worked through using yoga or using breath work, that stuck energy within your body, it remains. And Pluto energy could be an ask to really do the work in order to flush that out of your system. Some of you may have a more intense relationship with your own body or in how it is that you view it or your appearance altogether. And Pluto energy will bring to the surface how it is that your psyche is impacting your own relationship with yourself and your own physicality. Pluto governs extremes, and with it being the planet of destruction, some of you can be participating in either ways of talking to yourself, ways of treating your body, ways of not nourishing your body that are ultimately self-destructive. You know, it's important with Pluto energy to make the decision to live. Just because we gain awareness during a Pluto transit around, I'm not going to be here forever, so I need to seize this moment, does not mean you need to speed up that inevitable day by indulging in activities that you know are detrimental for you, that you know are leading to your own demise. And so for some of you, this could be a time in which you recognize certain obsessive behavior, whether it's obsessively, body checking, obsessively working, obsessively running from things that you don't want to deal with by turning to substances. Pluto energy can bring that all up to the surface and make you recognize, I am destroying myself. Whether I'm destroying my body, whether I'm destroying my mind, whether I'm destroying my spirit, the result is all the same. I'm destroying myself. I need to decide to live. And so for some of you, this could be a time in which you are walking away from things that are self-destructive, or you're recognizing how certain ways that you've been living and operating and treating your physical vessel has been destructive. And it's important during this time to really strive for moderation. Sometimes Pluto can make us go to extremes. And you can also be viewing yourself in terms of extremes in your own identity, oscillating from having a God complex to feeling like a speck of dust in the air in the next moment. And the truth is somewhere in the middle, right? You are not a God. You are not invincible to life's hurdles and challenges. You are part of the universe. You are part of divinity, but you are a mortal. And sometimes Pluto energy can swing us to this energy around, I am God. And Aquarius, I need to let you know this, and I doubt this is any of you who are watching, but I want you to be aware of this just in case you have other Aquarians within your life, that Pluto can be a more manipulative energy. And Aquarius is a very intelligent sign. You all are incredibly intelligent, and you need to use this power for good and not evil. Because sometimes a Pluto transit will be somebody entering their villain era and stepping into this side of their power by forcing their will upon others or manipulating others or even brainwashing others or things of that nature in order to get their way. Just be conscious of that, because look at the energy of Pluto. Sometimes we're exposed to such a realer, darker version of the world that we can feel like we should just be able to have what it is that we want and manipulate people to do what it is that we want, because we recognize that there is evil out in the world. You know, sometimes with Pluto energy, you could be exposed to individuals who are manipulative, individuals who are toxic, who again expose you to the reality that some people within this world are evil. And with a Pluto transit, the moderation you're being asked to find is to be aware of the darker forces that are in this world and in this planet without allowing it to consume you. And I want to let you know, if you have strong Aquarius placements, there could be a temptation to let the darker forces consume you. I know this sounds pretty out there, but this can also be this energy around, well, people have hurt me, so I'm going to go ahead and hurt other people. Or people have manipulated me, so I'm going to manipulate other people. And again, that is not true empowerment. When you need to belittle others and manipulate others in order to feel powerful, that is not true empowerment. And what we're really aiming for here is true empowerment. And it's important to know that this world does operate within this polarity, right? These extremes of Pluto energy, and this darkness exists within the world, but don't forget about the light. Seek out the light, search out the light. You can be exposed to some of these realer components of this plane without allowing yourself to be consumed by it and in it. And so you don't want to swing too much on that extreme of like God complex around, you know, nobody can touch me. I could do whatever it is that I want. I'm just going to force my will. You don't want to go to that extreme of Pluto, but you also don't want to go to the other extreme of Pluto where it's like, I am a speck of dust on this planet and life is meaningless and there's no point to it and I am insignificant in the grander scheme of things. That's not the truth either. We're seeking for that middle ground. And again, the lower side of that spectrum can sometimes lead to behaviors that are self-destructive around what does it matter if I treat my body poorly and if I do these particular things. It doesn't matter in the grander scheme of things. It does matter. You matter, Aquarius. Don't forget that. Find the in-between. Remember that you are divinity. Remember and choose the light, even around the darkness that you may have to confront at this time. But also know that you are not better than other people, right? Aquarius is of the people. It's of humanity. So you're really looking for that in-between when it comes to this Plutonian energy. First house, and it also has to deal with visibility. Again, Pluto energy makes us confront extremes. A lot of you are living a life operating from your fears rather than your desires. Listening to your fears more than your desires. I want to be seen, I want to lead, I want to create, whatever it is, but I don't want to be perceived. So I'm going to stay hidden. Pluto energy could kind of force you out of the comfort zone around being seen. And sometimes we do have to deal with intenser themes around Pluto in order for us to really face our fears around, okay, I got my first hate comment, and you know what? Now that I got that hate comment, I can keep going. Like I've realized that fear, and now that I've realized that fear, it no longer has this hold on me. I'm not going to live my life listening to my fears more so that I'm listening to my desires. This is the first year, Aquarius, that from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, you are on this Pluto path. And the path ahead is shadowy. You're at the precipice of this journey. Only Aquarians who have placements between 1 and 3 degrees will have a Pluto conjunction this year. All of you are on this Pluto journey, but those are the ones who are really, really feeling the themes. And in that darkness of the path that you are walking on, and in the facing of your fears and the acknowledgement of your desires and the acknowledgement of your psyche, you find your resilience. You know, Pluto transits sharpened into awareness that a lot can be taken from us, but also pay attention to what cannot be taken from you, which is your power, which is your strength, which is your desire to keep fighting to build a life that is more in alignment with your desires rather than ran by your fears, more a life that is true to how it is that you perceive the world and the world that you believe in rather than the world that was programmed into you. Again, walking this path is not easy work. But what I can say, Aquarius, is that if you incarnated in a time such as this with Aquarius placements, it's work that you signed up for. So Aquarius, there is so much more happening this year beyond just the Pluto transit, and we continue on this celestial story by looking at what your ruling planet is doing. In your case, looking at what your ruling planets are doing, as you have two ruling planets. You have a traditional ruler, Saturn, and you have a modern ruler, Uranus. I personally, as an astrologer, use traditional rulership, so I would put more weight on Saturn, but I will talk through Uranus as well if any of you use modern rulerships. I think they can both be considered in tandem here. So starting with Saturn. Saturn starts and ends the year in Pisces. So from the beginning of the year until May 24th, and then from September 1st until the end of the year, Saturn is in Pisces, which is your second house. The second house of your chart has a lot of activity focused within it. And so that means a lot of your energy can be around your finances, planning and investing for the future, potentially budgeting or getting organized, or just really wanting to set yourself up for what it is that you want to build and what it is that you want to create. And so a lot of you could have been feeling a sensation of some scarcity around your finances during this transit. You know, Saturn's been in Pisces since 2023. It will continue, at least in some ways, in this section of your chart until next year. And so Saturn energy can sometimes bring limitations and restrictions. And sometimes this literally manifests around we lose a stream of income or we experience some sort of challenge in reference to the money that is being brought in. Sometimes it's just you have a new goal, you have a new vision, so there is this energy of limitation that is self-imposed. Or maybe some of you, you bought a house, and so that is a new expense that is making you have to be more diligent and organized around where your money is going. And I will say midway this year, you do get a break of Saturn's influence here, but a way of really leaning into this is really seeing where your money is going and really ensuring that it's going towards what it is that you value, not what you've been programmed to value, but what it is that you value. And Saturn energy could ask you to get very, very organized around where every dollar is going. It could ask you to, budget, get aligned for the future that you want to build towards. An adage that I love around Saturn is that Saturn delays, but it does not deny. You will be rewarded for the effort that you are investing around finances. A lot of you are having to work really hard and you can feel like the results are not catching up. And I always find that when Saturn leaves a house, it tends to leave with a little gift or a little reward of your diligence and your delayed gratification. Some of you can find, definitely with the eclipses landing here as well, there are financial gains, but these financial gains are coming as a result of you being very Saturnian with it. Thinking long-term, being diligent, being organized, budgeting, so on and so forth. And it's important to highlight that beyond even just your money, second house is also how you value yourself. And with Saturn in the second house, a lot of you have really been building the muscle around really seeing, honoring, and standing in your value. You could say all day long, I value myself, but are you pricing yourself accordingly? If you are self-employed, do your rates reflect your worth? And if you are in certain relationships or dynamics that are not seeing your worth, you could say all day long, I'm valuable, but why are you staying in dynamics that are undervaluing you? Saturn energy is asking you to stand on business. You know your worth, you know your value, stand on it. And if you don't, Saturn energy is asking you to chisel that, work that muscle. Saturn is in Pisces, and Pisces is very spiritual. And I think a way that these energies can kind of work together is recognizing your own divinity, your own perfection in the grander scheme of things, in the grander scheme of the universe, and recognizing if you could see yourself in the divine's eyes, you would never undervalue yourself. You would understand that you were given these talents and these gifts for a reason. And to undervalue yourself would be to undervalue God or universe or source energy, whatever it is that you consider. And so with the energy of Saturn in Pisces, it could almost be this influence in which you choose to show up, to work your craft, to launch a new product, or to do something in order to increase income because you're feeling called upon by the universe, or you just recognize that there's certain talent and potential within you. And you realize nobody's going to value this unless I value it for myself and unless I work that muscle and chisel it. And unless I recognize that I was given this for a reason by the divine. That could be something that you're working through during this transit. Now, midway this year, Saturn enters Aries. And with Saturn in Aries, this impacts your third house, which governs your mind. And I want to let you know, firstly, that Saturn does not like to be in Aries. Saturn is in its fall in the sign Aries, because Aries is around our initiative, that spark, where Saturn is around maintaining. And so something that you are going to play with midway this year, and it'll continue on in 2026, is really sticking to what it is that you say you're going to do. So if you say you're going to do something, follow through. If you've been waiting on other people to give you permission to learn something, to take that class, this is you having to work the muscle around giving yourself the permission slip to do that. Some of you may need to work through this element of patience, being very intentional around what you choose to say, really being mindful of things that you say within the heat of the moment, with the energy of Aries. If you are somebody where when you are fired up, you say things that you don't mean or that you don't intend, Saturn being the planet of karma, this could be a time in which you are recognizing the weight of your words, especially words that are spoken when you are mad or when you are angry about something. Some of you, I see with Saturn and Aries, you're doing work around advocating for yourself, speaking up, saying, no, that does not fly with me. No, this is my boundary. Some of you are working the muscle around voicing what it is that you want and what it is that you are not okay with, what it is that you don't want. There feels to be a focus on mental health this year, just with Pluto in your sign, as well as Saturn here. Third house governs our mind. And so with Saturn in the third house, a lot of you are being asked to really chisel the discipline around your mind. And that could be the internal script that you have, how it is that you talk to yourself, the content that you feed your mind, your social media habits, how it is that you interact online. With the energy of Saturn, it could be making you look at that and really contemplating if it is supportive for your mind. And especially with Chiron here as well, a lot of you could be really setting limits around social media usage or wanting to feed your brain with conversations and content that are supportive for the version of you that you're evolving into, rather than the version of you that you've been. And ensuring that this desire that you have around healing and empowerment, that is visible in what it is that you are reading and what it is that you are listening to and the conversations that you are having. Sometimes with Saturn in third house, we're less inclined for small talk. We're less inclined for things that feel surface level, things that don't feel deep, right, and true with Pluto in your sign. And so with Saturn in third house, you could just be less interested in social media midway this year. You could be less interested in talking just to talk, really wanting to save your energy for conversations that are true and deep. Could be an influence here. Now I want to share that Saturn will be direct in the first portion of the year. Saturn will be moving in retrograde motion from July 12th until November 27th, 2025. Now, what does this mean for you? This could mean that at the beginning of the year, there is this forward momentum out into the world, wanting to make new financial deals when Saturn's in the second house, wanting to learn new things when Saturn's in the third house of learning. There could be this push out into the world and some forward momentum around moving on, moving forward. And then in the latter portion of the year, there could be this contemplation around really coming inward, really contemplating, really tying up loose ends. There could be an emphasis here, especially when we consider the arenas that Saturn is transiting, which is around your mind, your learning, your social media, even your siblings, your neighbors, these third house themes, and your bank account, your self-worth. Now, your modern ruler is also changing signs this year. And I want to share, this is more rare. Saturn and Uranus are planets that are slow to move and rare to change signs. And they're both changing signs this year. So you are entering a new era. You are entering a new chapter. I don't want you to feel weighted down by the knowledge that Pluto will be in your sign until 2044. I'm not saying you have to wait to live until 2044. Not at all. There are new chapters that are playing out currently. And so to look to the Uranus part of your journey. So within the beginning portion of the year until July 7th, and then from November 7th until the end of the year, Uranus will be in Taurus. For you, this is your fourth house of home, family, emotional state. Uranus is a planet that deals with rebellion and individuality. So a lot of you since 2018 have been in this journey around rebelling against the ways that you've been programmed from your own upbringing, from your family, from your own ancestry. There's been this recognition that you, as a baby, got programmed with all of this software that's not true to you, right? All of these ways of seeing the world, all of these ways around what's valuable, what has value within this world. That with Uranus here, you're challenging, you are disrupting at this time. There could be certain ways that you've pushed against your family, or certain ways that you've advocated for certain ways that you've pushed against the values of your family, or advocated for your own unique essence. Some of you could have had certain shakeups as it relates to family. Sometimes the shakeups show up around us disrupting the role that we typically play within family. And like I said with our Pluto talk, not everybody loves it when we find our voice, or when we find our agency, and when we find our autonomy. And maybe some of you, stood your ground and disrupted the role that you typically play within family, and it went beautifully, and they were able to accept that authentic version of you with open arms. But some of you could have experienced that that was not necessarily the case, that they were like, what are you doing? You're not letting us take advantage of you. You're not letting us walk all over you. Like, people don't always like when you disrupt the role that they've casted you as in their movie. If anything, Pluto in your sign, Uranus in the 4th house is this energy around, this is my movie, right? That I am the hero of my own story. I'm the protagonist of my own movie. And I don't need to play a role that's not true to self. And that could be showing up around family. Some of you could have gone through some ups and downs as it relates to home and property. Some of you could have had to randomly move. Some of you could have had a lot of movement in reference to your home environment. There could have been some ups and downs as it relates to properties and renting and buying homes. There could have been some shockwaves here with Uranus. And also your emotional state could have felt a little bit more erratic or unpredictable, unstable with Uranus's influence here. And I want to let you know that I would put an underline and a highlight and a circle around these themes if you notice that within your chart you have Aquarius placements between 23 to 29 degrees Aquarius. If that is the case, in the year 2025, you will have a Uranus transit, which emphasizes all of these Uranian themes that I'm sharing with you right now. There could be some restlessness brewing within you, wanting change, wanting novelty, wanting to disrupt from what does not serve, whether that's a home environment that does not serve, family structures that do not serve, even emotional patterns that do not serve. There could just be this desire to break free, to liberate yourself. And that's a journey that will wrap up next year, but we do get a taste of that journey being over and a new journey beginning. So midway this year, from July 7th until November 7th, Uranus will enter Gemini, your fellow air sign. And this influences and electrifies your 5th house, which is around fun, creativity, children. I want to share, before I get into the nuances of this transit, when we just consider from a big picture view that you have your traditional ruler Saturn entering Aries and your modern ruler Uranus entering Gemini. Aries and Gemini are very fun, lighthearted, adventurous, curious influences. And that feels important to let you know, Aquarius, because I know these Pluto themes can feel very doom and gloom, and some of you might be listening to this forecast like, what kind of year am I gonna have? But trust me when I say that it's not all doom and gloom and intense and dark night of the soul. In fact, I feel like some of you are coming around the bend. It's like, now that I've understood the darkness, I'm so much more intentional around seeking out the light. I obviously don't know it all, but something that I've arrived to within my own journey, that a final stage of spiritual development or enlightenment, whatever it is that you want to call it, I don't believe that's being very, very serious and being very jaded about the world. I think that's part of the journey that you go through. But I think once you go through that darkness, there's this spirit around, okay, in the grander scheme of things, it's not so serious. Like, nobody's getting out of here alive anyway. I'm just a soul. I'm here to have these experiences. What's stopping me from learning what I want to learn and creating what I want to create and having fun with this time that I'm alive? It's like Pluto is making you understand, okay, one day I will not be here. So let me live. Let me have fun. Let me be a human. And I feel like Saturn and Aries and Uranus and Gemini is giving you that cosmic permission slip. So you're not existing in the dark or in the intensity. You might dabble into it in order to intentionally seek out and find the light, the fun, the new, honestly. So to deepen this conversation, Uranus in the 5th house, you could find midway this year, there is a desire to want to create. You know, as an Aquarius, you are very visionary. You are a couple steps ahead of humanity. And you could get some inspired ideas halfway through this year around how it is that you want to have this big impact, right? With Pluto and Aquarius, how it is that you want to help change the world through your art. You know, you are a visionary. And with Uranus and Gemini, you might learn a certain craft or a certain creativity that helps channel all of that creativity that is within you. You know, Gemini governs hands. And so some of you could be writing more, wanting to create in that way. Some of you could be knitting. You could be learning an instrument. I see some of you could be getting more into comedy. I just see that there's this energy around wanting to express yourself and express yourself honestly and truly. That's what you are here to do, Aquarius, is be your own person, march to the beat of your own drum. And you could get into some random hobbies midway this year that allow you to express yourself and to tap in, tune into your inner child, sense of play that oftentimes life beats out of us, right? Uranus energy, and Jupiter is also here in the first portion of the year, could be you really wanting to tap into that. And some of you could be going through some ups and downs as it relates to your children. And some of you might even have some rebellion around your decision whether or not you want to have children. Maybe there was an expectation around that you would, and now you're finding that's not true to my path. Or maybe there was an expectation that you would not, and you're recognizing randomly that suddenly this is something that you desire. You know, I need to be forthright. Some of you could randomly or unexpectedly conceive during this time. So please be cautious if that is not what it is that you desire. And 5th house also has to deal with romance and dating. And a lot of you can find midway this year that you are drawn to people that you did not expect that you would be drawn to. You could find that you are experimenting with dating outside of your type or outside of the typical gender that you date. Like with Uranus energy, you could be wanting to try new things, date in new ways, date different sorts of people. This could be an energy here. And these Uranus themes may be the most palpable this year if you have Aquarius placements between 0 to 1 degrees. That means the Uranus energy is a lot more heightened, and not so much in a disruptive way like the Uranus square when Uranus was in Taurus, but in more so of a flowy way, creating, having fun, expressing yourself in very novel, true ways. All of you will have a Uranus trine in years to come, so no need to be jealous if you're not in the earlier parts of Aquarius energy. We have this transit until 2033, and we're getting a taste of it this year. I want to share with you that we start off the year with Uranus retrograde. Uranus stations direct on January 30th, where it's direct midway through the year. It then stations retrograde September 5th, where it stays retrograde until the end of the year. And just to recap, retrograde typically indicates coming more inward. So really contemplating, where do I like to create? What is my sensation of fun? How is my idea of fun changing? Or when it's in the 4th house, contemplating, how did my home program me? How did my family program me? What was I taught to value? And is that true to me? And then when it's direct, there's more so energy around, I want new experiences. I want to learn new things. I want to create new things. So Aquarius, let's go on a journey of where the rest of the outer planets are transiting this year, and thus the life arenas that may be a focus, some of which we've already discussed, some of which are new. So let's dive into it. I want to firstly add on to our conversation around the 2nd house, because this is an arena of focus this year. Neptune starts the year in your 2nd house. It enters Aries on March 30th, where it stays until October 22nd, and then it retrogrades back into Pisces, thus your 2nd house. And I want to emphasize this because Saturn, your ruling planet here, is asking you to really think long term, budget, get aligned, go through possessions, get rid of what does not serve, downsize could be an energy for some. That is the encouragement with your ruling planet in the 2nd house, but Neptune's influence here could also make you want to escape or avoid. around not wanting to check your bank account. What you don't see can't hurt you, or not wanting to open up the closet because you know there's so many things in there that they could topple out. You know, Pluto energy is around release, so a lot of you are letting go of possessions. But sometimes Neptune energy, we don't want to acknowledge it. We don't want to deal with it. We don't want to look at the numbers. We don't want to forecast our future because it's scary. And it's just recognizing that this too can be a form of self-sabotage. And I would just encourage you to really look at your finances clearly, really look at your possessions clearly. I know it's not always easy, but with the energy of Neptune, rose-colored glasses or avoidance is not supporting you in this arena. Your ruling planet in Saturn's asking you to really gain clarity here. So that would be my encouragement here. When Neptune enters your third house midway this year, this impacts your mind. So again, there could be a temptation, even though Saturn dabbles into the sector as well, asking for clarity and discipline around what you are feeding your mind and how it is that you're communicating. Neptune has energy around wanting to numb your mind, wanting to escape. Be mindful if there are certain pharmaceuticals or certain things that you reach for in order to numb out, in order to escape from your thoughts, retreat into your own inner world. You know, Neptune energy is very world building. That's in your third house. And a lot of you can really use this energy to envision new things, have new ideas, have new spiritual conversations even. Some of you could start downloading or channeling. Some of you could download or channel a book or a podcast or social media content or new visions. Like Neptune energy can absolutely be that. It governs screens, mirrors, cameras. So some of you could see something within your mind or get very inspired. Spiritual ideas can be an influence here. But it's important to know that we can build a world that is creative and that is positive and around new ideas and new ways of seeing things, but we can also build worlds that are more negative. Neptune as a planet can be quite delusional. It can be quite escapist. And you have to just be conscious and exert discipline with Saturn also here midway this year around what world you are building within your mind. If you are checking out of your reality in order to retreat into the comforting dreamland of your thoughts, rather than making your dreams happen within planet Earth, just wanting to check out or numb out. And I also feel, you know, Aries can be a sign that can be quite angry. And so it's also just being mindful of where it is that you're fantasizing about revenge plots. Pluto in your sign, sometimes you do get a taste of people who are a little bit manipulative or power hungry or controlling or possessive. And some of you could have had people who genuinely betrayed you or mistreated you. And there could be a temptation with Neptune here to fantasize about, you know, harm coming those people's way. And I want to let you know, Aquarius, you're ruled by Saturn, the planet of karma. You do not need to poison the precious territory of your mind by wishing harm onto other people. Saturn's got you. These people do not deserve any real estate within your mind. And I just want you to be conscious of worlds that you build that are not healthy, that are not supportive. I want to highlight that. Again, that could show up around revenge fantasies, but even just comforting lies that you tell yourself rather than dealing with the truth with the energy of Pluto. Some of you even could have a tendency to soften your words in some way, not wanting to deliver the harsh truth, which you could, with Saturn here, deal with ramifications and consequences around. It doesn't do anyone any good to be comforted by a lie. Sometimes the truth is unpleasant. It rips us out of a dreamy Delulu land, but it allows us to genuinely move forward. And Chiron, the comet of the wounded healer, will also be in this sector of the sky throughout the entirety of the year. So Chiron continues its journey here. And for you, this is really contemplating your inner script. And if it is affirming your own wounds and your own inadequacies, if you tell yourself you're a loser, you can't do anything right, and allowing that radio station of your mind to continue on and on. Like Chiron energy could be asking you to look at that. It could be asking what ideals you have within your mind that are not healthy. You know, it's worth noting you are a fixed air sign, Aquarius. While you are open-minded and experimental and innovative, you are quite stubborn when you get your mind made up about something. Fixed indicates consistency, air indicates of the mind, of intellect, of the mental processing. And so some of you have certain ideas around how you view yourself, around how you view life, that are more conducive to your pain rather than your healing. And with Chiron here, there's really an invitation to look at the messages that you tell yourself, look at even the ways that you abandon yourself by telling people what they want to hear rather than what you need to say. Like Chiron energy could be an acknowledgement here. Very few of you, but some of you could be dealing with wounding themes or feeling quite triggered around siblings or neighbors or even social media in some way with a third house influence here. Third house also has to deal with learning. So some of you could be taking new classes, getting new certifications, having new sort of conversations, and really wanting these conversations to be around healing, you know, with Chiron here, around depth with Pluto in your sign, around spirit with Neptune here. Like you could be really wanting to talk about big things, and you could have less patience for small minds wanting to discuss small matters. You could have less patience as it relates to gossip or things of that nature. And for some of you, that may not sound very fun, but what I will say is that it does feel like there is a fun influence coming alive in the year ahead. And again, Aquarius, I want to be so clear. The cosmos are an opportunity for us to co-create with. So just because ease is indicated does not mean that it is promised. We have to kind of meet it halfway. If we just stay in our room and stay locked away from the world, we likely won't have as much fun as we would have if we took the invitation of this fifth house influence this year and went to concerts and tried to play new instruments, so on and so forth. So let's dive into this. I want to share with you that in the beginning portion of the year, from January 1st until June 9th, Jupiter is in Gemini. Thus, your fifth house. This is the time to say yes to life. This is the time to have fun. Go to concerts, go to shows, go to games, learn new things, learn a new hobby, get a new craft. Gemini governs the hands, knit, crochet, do things just for the purpose of feeling alive and expressing yourself. Some of you could even join sports leagues, pickleball, something of that nature that helps you connect to other people. There is an emphasis on community this year, Aquarius. I see some of you are wanting to connect more so to your neighbors with that third house influence, with your neighbors with that third house influence, or just with your community altogether. And under this name around wanting to have fun, wanting to bring people together with this fifth house energy. Again, fifth house does deal with children. So with Jupiter in the fifth house, some of you could be either having conversations around if you want to have children. Some of you could even be conceiving. Some of you could be having fun, traveling, or exploring with your children in some regard. Some of you could be dating. Some of you could be dating more than one person. Okay, Gemini is the twin. So some of you might have multiple suitors, multiple options. And again, you're being invited at this time to really honor the data of the different sorts of people that you are connecting with. Again, maybe it's new types of people that you're connecting with Uranus entering this sector later this year. And with Jupiter in the fifth house, it's like, do I like dating somebody who's long distance? Won't know until I try. Or do I like dating somebody who is into this particular hobby? Guess I won't know until I try. There is an ask to be open to life, and that might be especially accentuated if you have Aquarius placements between 13 to 29 degrees. That means in the year 2025, you will experience a Jupiter trine, and that means it's a desire to want to have fun and to express yourself and to create will be even more highlighted. And then in the latter portion of the year, Jupiter enters Cancer, which is your sixth house. And I want to share that even though Jupiter was in a fellow air sign, it did give some blessings and some desire for expansion and new beginnings. Its influence could have felt a little bit more understated simply because Jupiter does not operate very strongly in the sign Gemini. It's in its detriment in Gemini. And when Jupiter enters Cancer midway this year, it's in exaltation. So it goes from being powered at like 2 on the dial to being powered at like 10 on the dial. And that's a collective influence, but where it is that you can experience blessings and ease and luck and nourishment is really around your day-to-day routine, your health, your work, your pets. A lot of you are genuinely prioritizing your well-being. You are choosing to live. You are choosing not to destroy yourself. Sometimes Pluto takes us to the brink or takes us to extremes of contemplating our own mortality and things of that nature. But I just see that a lot of you are rising to this call around, I'm going to live. Maybe some of you, if you're younger or something of that nature, you could have been like, I never saw myself living past this particular time. So I just was treating my body any which way. And now I'm recognizing, oh, that age that I thought I wouldn't be here any longer, it's here. And it's like making that decision to treat yourself well, knowing that you are worthy enough to treat yourself well with that second house energy. And with Jupiter in the sixth house, wanting to show up for your well-being in physical, emotional, spiritual, and psychological ways that nourish yourself so that you feel good day to day. There could be a focus around nutrition in the latter portion of the year. There could be a focus on exercise routines, not exercise routines that are obsessive and detrimental and actually hard on your body, but ones that genuinely nourish you, that make you feel good, not just of body, but also of spirit, of soul, of emotions, with Jupiter in Cancer. And I find that in Aquarius particularly is a very rebellious energy. So a lot of you, if people say, you should meditate every morning and take cold showers, there's like a natural resistance. Just because someone else is telling you what to do, you're just like, I just don't even want to. Even if I feel like it might be good for me, I hate being told what to do. Like, that's very much an Aquarius way of thought. And it's not to say that you need to go by the book. You're an Aquarius. You're going to do things your own way. That's what you are here to do. And you don't even need to do the exact same routine every single day. You don't need to, wake up and meditate for 30 minutes. There's just an ask with Jupiter in Cancer in the latter portion of the year to ensure that if someone were to take a slice of your life, any particular day, they would see that this is somebody who values themselves, that pours into themselves, that takes care of themselves. I'm seeing some of you are almost tricking yourself into taking care of yourself better by having a pet or having certain plants or having certain routines that you show up for that recognize, just as I water my plants and I feed my cat, I also need to water myself and feed myself. Like, there could be an energy around really just wanting to prioritize your well-being within the latter portion of the year. Some of you could even get a pet. This would be a very supportive time to do just that. Sixth house also has to deal with our work. It's not our career, reputation, or what people see of us. It is our daily act of working. And I do see in the latter portion of the year, a lot of you could be calling in a new position or experience gain or growth within your work position. Some of you could be freeing up from responsibilities that were not aligned, that were impacting your emotions in some way, in order to call in positions in which you feel valued. You feel like they pour into you as much as you pour into them. I would say, Saturn in the second house, some of you have had certain financial difficulties or certain things that you've had to plan for, get aligned on. And if you've had a hard time finding employment, the latter portion of this year can indicate that you will attract a position with a lot more ease, with a lot more flow, with the energy of Cancer. A lot of you could even join a team that feels like a family, or be a part of a working environment that feels like a family, or at least you care a lot about it and you feel like it's also pouring into you. Now, when Jupiter is in your sixth house, it squares off with placements in your third house. And just from a bigger picture perspective, I want to highlight firstly that there is just such a focus on your health this year, Aquarius, and it's nothing scary. I just see that there is a focus around your health, not just physically, because you can look good and still be riddled with stress and just eating Cheetos and doom scrolling all day. I'm seeing a very comprehensive focus around health, around physical health, spiritual health, mental health with the third house energy, psychological health with Pluto in your sign. I'm seeing there is an emphasis on this. So in June, Jupiter in Cancer will square off with Saturn and Neptune in Aries. And this is a time in which you could be really acknowledging the day-to-day routines that you have and which are nourishing you and which are taking from you. For some of you, this could be scrolling, really wanting to get clear on where your time is going and if it is impacting your well-being. Some of you could just be dealing with the effects of technology on your health. Like, some of you could even get like a stand-up desk or something, recognizing that it's not good to be sitting all day. Some of you could be really conscious of tech neck, right? Looking at devices. You could be really looking at that, especially around June. There also just could be a contemplation around your mind, your mental health, what you are feeding your brain. Because sixth house is what you're feeding your body, which I do see a lot of you are really wanting to nourish yourself, treat yourself well by way of what you're eating. But also pay attention to what you're eating with your mind. Social media, content, messages, conversations that you're having can also have an impact, can also shape your worldview with Neptune in the third house. I'm seeing some of you might even implement tools such as meditation, mind-body practices, maybe reading morning devotionals or listening to certain podcasts or inspiring bits of information that is supportive, that allows you to nourish your own well-being. This could be an influence. Come October and December, Jupiter will square off with Chiron here. And this is really an energy around recognizing just how holistic healing and health is. that you could be eating fruits and veggies all of the time, but if you're eating them telling yourself that you are worthless and that you eat too much and what have you, it's just like eating a donut. If you are overworking yourself, yes, in society standards, that's considered good. But if you are feeding like a monster within you that's telling you it's never enough, ultimately that is not healthy for your well-being. You're really looking for a full picture around a day-to-day routine that, yes, supports your body, but also supports your mind, supports your spirit. It supports your bank account, right, with that second house energy. Now, in addition to Saturn and Neptune also spending some time in the second house, I want to share that North Node will be in your second house for the majority of the year. It enters in the beginning of January. And North Node will be in Pisces, your second house. South Node will be in Virgo, your 8th house. And so to a big picture level, with the South Node in the 8th house, a lot of you are feeling inclined this year to let go of a stream of support that you have come to rely on. This could be you not wanting to rely on a spouse any longer, you no longer wanting to rely on your parents. North Node in the second house is asking you to build self-sufficiency, and that can show up in finances. That can also just show up around valuing yourself. Because like the energy of 8th house, it's merged energy. I am valuable so long as I merge with someone else. Whereas North Node and Pisces in the second house is like, I am valuable because I was crafted by the divine. It's like letting go of allowing your value to be attached to you by other people and wanting to build a life in which you are able to make your own money or spend your money on what it is that you want or build the future that you want to have, especially if certain money or streams of support that were offered to you were offered on contingency. You know, Virgo can be a very nitpicky energy. So if you had a parent supporting you who, because you were accepting support from them, you felt like you had to play by their rules or do what it is that they wanted to do, with the energy of North Node second house, you could just be really wanting to find that self-sufficiency so that no one can tell you what to do, what you should and should not spend your money on, or what you should or should not value. Should or should not value. Should or should not value. Some of you could be releasing debt at this time, or releasing what you feel indebted to in some regard. And a lot of you are listening and you're like, Haley Comet, I never really had support to begin with, so I don't know how this is going to manifest. Ultimately, with the energy of North Node second house, you can experience gain in finances at this time. It might require some work with the energy of Saturn and discernment with the energy of Neptune, but a lot of you can find that you are experiencing gain in finances, whether you're selling possessions, whether you're experiencing increase as it relates to salary. There can be some movement here. And there's almost this energy, whether you're making the decision or the decision's made for you. Now that you don't have this stream of support, it's like you are being guided to realize and recognize just how strong you are, just how capable you are, just how talented you are, because you are forced, in a sense, to be making your own money or prioritizing your own bank account. Like some of you could be really finding your wings. Sometimes it happens in more pleasant ways. Sometimes it's a little bit more jarring. But a lot of you are really being guided to build a life that centers around your values, to earn income, and to recognize that you have so much talent, so many skills within you. And these eclipses could be nudging you to share that with the world and to get paid well for sharing that with the world. And so this story will be accentuated with all of the Virgo Pisces eclipses that we have this year. So we have a Virgo lunar eclipse on March 13th on the South Node. We have a Pisces lunar eclipse on September 7th on the North Node. And we have a Virgo solar eclipse on the South Node on September 21st. So that brings up themes around the support that you receive from others, the finances and abundance that you chisel for yourself, where it is that you allow other people to value you, where it is that you value yourself, where it is that you feel indebted to others, where it is that you are indebted to no one. That could be coming up for review at this time. Now, there's one eclipse that is not related to this Virgo Pisces story. It's rather wrapping up this Aries Libra story that's been playing out for the last year and a half. And that one lands on March 29th. It's an Aries solar eclipse on the North Node, conjoining Mercury. You can find that at this time you're being really guided to speak your truth, even if it infuriates other people, makes other people mad, to stand on business. There is a nudge for you to do just that. And maybe that's been something that's been alive this past year and a half, around needing to deliver bad news or really needing to set boundaries that not everybody was stoked to hear. But if you don't disappoint anyone else in this life, you will ultimately disappoint yourself. And so I feel like with the Aries placements entering your third house, it's just recognizing that you will be the bad guy in some people's stories, right? You will have to tell people no. But if you don't tell anyone else no, you will tell yourself no at the end of the day, and you're not abandoning yourself any longer. That is a form of self-sabotage, right? Pluto energy is really making you recognize around where you've been your own worst enemy. And some of you could have found before this eclipse story, or maybe even kicking off this year with Saturn and Neptune here, you've been your own worst enemy by saying yes when you mean no. And this eclipse and the eclipses that came before could have really accentuated just how much harm that inflicts when you do that. And I think Pluto energy, when we embrace these extremes, when we let go of needing to be validated or needing to be liked by everybody, we tap into our power. You know, powerful people are not liked by everybody. People who feel like they need to be liked by everybody are people pleasers, which is a self-sabotaging behavior. So some of you are recognizing your power by not seeking to please everybody. Again, you will call in the right community, the right friends, the right individuals who are meant to learn from you. But this is an energy around recognizing that you cannot be everything to everyone, and you will dilute your own essence if you try. And I want to let you know, Aquarius, that when we look at the overall story of what is coming alive for you in the year 2025, I know some of these themes are more enjoyable than others, but with that Pluto energy, just remember how powerful you are. And remember to work with these themes, co-create with these themes, grab these opportunities, be mindful of these challenges. And in supporting you with that work, I've crafted you some soul-centered affirmations. These are written based on the transits that you will experience in the year 2025. If these affirmations really speak to you and resonate with you, I've put them into a PDF, which you can find within the description. You can either access it on your computer or you can even print it if they really speak to you, in order to continue to utilize this astrology as a tool to work with, to create with, truly. So the affirmations for Aquarius 2025 forecast is as follows. I recognize and stand within my own power. I let go of all that does not serve me. It is safe for me to transform. I get to the core of who it is that I am and build my most authentic, embodied life. I do not take other people's projections and opinions of me personally. When I change, I grow. It is safe for me to learn new things. I am intentional with the thoughts that I give energy to within my mind. I say what it is that I mean. I am intentional and honest with my words. I state my boundaries clearly. I honor and celebrate my inner child. I play. I honor my authenticity within my creativity. My daily routine is one that genuinely nourishes me. I prioritize every element of my well-being, my physical health, my emotional health, my spiritual health, my financial health, my psychological health. I am paid well. I deserve to be paid abundantly. Abundance is my birthright. I honor and tap into all of the talent and potential that lies dormant within me. I am my own cheerleader. I call in work and positions that genuinely pour into me as much as I pour into them. I am open to growth. I am open to discovering the new sides of myself that I've yet to uncover. So Aquarius, I would love to know which of these affirmations are really speaking to you. What are you looking forward to within the year ahead? What are you not looking forward to as much? I'd love to know within the comments. Or you can find me on Instagram. My @ is HaleyCommentAstrology. My TikTok is the same. I would so love to connect with you over there. If you resonate with this forecast, any bit of engagement is so appreciated, from a like to a comment to a share with a fellow water bearer. If you are interested in hearing more from me, I would so appreciate your consideration of subscribing to the channel. I have all sorts of content already live, as well as forecasts to come. So I take you through every single week within Magic Monday, and I also will be diving into all of these transits so much more in depth. All of the eclipses so much more in depth. All you need to know about Uranus and Gemini so much more in depth, every single sign. So subscribe so you stay tuned to that. But until we meet again, Aquarius, drink lots of water and stay cosmic.